Hello. This is just checking the audio. This is just checking the audio for the stream. Can everybody hear the audio from the stream? Okay. Just let me know in the Discord, please. Okay, we have 15 players in lobby total. Nice. Okay, we are finally ready to get underway for the last race of the ALR season. We are going to Suzuka, which is a favorite circuit amongst drivers. Suzuka Circuit for short is in Japan is one of the most difficult tracks in the world, technically, physically, mentally challenging race circuit. Nevertheless, the track is one of the most famous among Formula 1 drivers and the spectators as well. It is one of the few circuits in the world to have a figure 8 layout, meaning the track runs both clockwise and anti-clockwise. The track does not actually intersect with itself, as you can see going in from turn 9 to turn 10, but in reality it passes straight back over the front section by means of an overpass, which is quite unique. Top speed here is about 315 Ks, with an average speed of about 230 Ks. The circuit's 5.8 kilometers long and has a variety of high and low speed corners, about 18 total corners, 19 total corners. So yeah, we'll be able to see how they adapt to this figure 8. Turn 1 definitely a long turn, so we'll see how this works. We seem to be getting underway in qualifying. Let's just do okay, so now we are underway in qualifying. Let's go on board with this Renault here. We have Stefan out for his hot lap as he comes into turn 2 here, to the start of the S-curves. Just, warming up those tires, making sure he can get some good grip. because if he qualifies in the top 10, he'll have to continue to use these tires. Already a yellow flag here. The yellow flag has been shown in the outlap, but the drivers have now recovered. Here. So we're here with Steven in the Renault, there's an outlap. It'll be interesting to see where Renault end up at the end of 2021 when they lose Jenny Ricciardo. Let's see how Stephen can fare as he started his official lap after he gets into turn 1 into the S curves here. Into the Dumbo curve. As he's about to go into turn 9 and then into that deadly hairpin, as we all know. Really, where it is dangerous in this track is at the start of sector 3 near the speed trap. In turn 15 is where actually drivers have complained at the past about it being a bit too dangerous, a bit too sharp of a left in this case. But no, hopefully no one has a problem with that today. Yeah. And ALR Denny's posted the fastest time of a 1:28.7. This is in his first lap, which is a good time. Lewis Hamilton has a lap record. It was 1:30, so that's better than 6 times world champion Lewis Hamilton. But of course, this is sim racing. As we see, Cashman is only about 900ths of a second off there, not even 10th. And then Okiki behind. Stephen is 2 seconds off the leader, ALR Denise. Kachka is behind that in P5 right now, 4 seconds difference. And of course now we see Mike has actually finished his qualifying lap, and he is now finally P2 behind ALR Denise, who had a very good qualifying lap. Let's go to see the Alpha of Robin. As he is in P11 currently. See if he can shave a couple seconds off his lap time at the 1:48. That's about 20 seconds slower than the leader. Guess the gap in front is so tight here, as we see. Let's see Asif on his outlap here. Is he is actually lucky enough to be racing today. He is meant to be celebrating with his family, but luckily enough he was also able to do both and come race today. So we're glad to have him in this race. As you see, the discrepancy between P1 and P7 is only a measly 2 seconds, which says a lot about how competitive this track is going to be for the races. As we see ALR, Asif come into turn 14 here. Let us see how Asif can fare. You know, this lap has looked good. I'm purposely not leaving the sector times up there, just because I don't want anybody to know, you know, watching this stream, to see, you know, how fast someone in front of me might be going or what their pace is, because, you know, Even though you can ask those things in the game, leave it up to that. No one gaining any advantage from the stream. This is a competitive race. As we see, Asif is about to start his qualifying lap here. It's a short quality, so we'll see. People changing strategies. Filling, with the setups, just to see how they can bring the best out of the car before the race. See if the conditions. Oh, and actually, we see that Tanley in the Discord in the Racing Point has actually said that he has put the wrong setup on the car, but he's still in P9. Hopefully, he can work around those tweaks. Apparently, he's complaining about some oversteer with the car. So right now we see ALR Denise is still sitting on top. About only I'd say about 10 hundredths of a second behind. Mega Mike, who's been electric all season, definitely today he's finally going to lift the Cavalier Drivers Championship, and it should be great for him. And if Red Bull here currently to Period 2 and 3, if this is how they start on start on the podium and end on the podium, then the Red Bull will be taking the Drivers Championship as well, crushing the hopes of Ferrari, who are currently qualifying in P5 and 7 respectively. It'd be interesting to see if Job can get a better time in. He seems to be slipping behind a little bit here. He's usually very consistent, and maybe Suzuka is not his favorite track. Wheels of Steel is giving us a consistent performance as always in the Mercedes. He has a 129. Yes, so we will see how this really ends up. Right now we have a yellow flag actually. It is the Williams of Ice Cube Sandwich for a second. But let's actually get on board with him and see his qualifying lap. In this case, right now he's low on fuel, so he won't be taking a lap. But no, yeah, I feel like this in general, this track is very, very difficult for the drivers, and as we see, ALR Diniz gets a purple sector there. No, yeah, I think this is just a difficult track for the drivers. It's very fast. They enjoy it. They like to test themselves on a track like this, where there's a lot of high-end variety of high and low-speed corners. The car, they're able to take care of a little bit better than some other tracks, just because of the natural conditions as such not interfering. Maybe as if in Canada there's drain pipes and etc. Mexico also there are things. But yeah, no. Okay, and it'd be very crucial to see how DRS is used in this race, because you can use it very well, but it also depends on how fast you're going into these turns and things as such. You could risk losing the car, losing the tires. People are more likely than not. This is a 50% race. People are more likely than not going to start on the soft tire to get some sort of advantage, and then move to the medium. Early on, or some people might start on the hard. Maybe Michael start on the hard. We'll have to see. Maybe he will not pit early on. Maybe keep the long stretch. As we see, actually, Tansley has crashed out of in one of his qualifying laps, so he's now suffering from some damage, which is a bit unfortunate as he struggles to get the car back onto the track. He will be seeing that lap invalidated. Unfortunately, that is actually quite unfortunate. Qualifying, having a qualifying lap invalidated is always frustrating. But we can just go back to the garage and reset with the team and hope that everything works out. So this track is actually quite old. It was built in 1962 by the Honda car company, by Soshiro Honda. And he got the track tested by John Hogenholtz, who's basically now the person who drew up that iconic crossover over the overpass in this Suzuka. The first Grand Prix was in '87. Actually, Nelson Piquet won that race, which helped him secure the Drivers' Championship over Nigel Mansell. in this circuit, it's the S curves, the Denner curve, and the 130R. These are all incredibly iconic curves, and the track in general is so unique. It'll be interesting to see how the drivers are able to actually enjoy themselves. And this is the last race of the season, so this is a very fun track also for the drivers. For someone personally who plays this game, I enjoy driving around Suzuka a lot in just in time trials. So this is definitely a fun uh, Grand Prix for sure. Definitely. Okay, and we see the gap to the top only getting closer as Job has now posted a lap time for P6 as that helps him jump up in the standings. The difference between him and ALR Denise is only about 5.5 tenths of a second, which is crazy. And behind that, Asif and Lab in the Williams and the Haas respectively are only a second behind Job. Um, it's very tight in the midfield as well. Only about the second difference between P10 and P7, which would be a big difference in points for the Drivers' Championship. Renault will be looking to get some points, and Haas will be looking to secure more points as ALR Deniz is currently in P1. If this is the way it goes, he will start on pole, and Asif will be looking to jump a little bit higher, maybe jump above the Williams of Lab. Maybe if he can contest the Ferraris up in P5 and P6 with a lap time, he'll be able to secure more points for Haas, which will help them move up in the Drivers' Championship. Not that, the Constructors' Championship. Not that they're even close to Ferrari, but actually, sorry, they are quite close to Ferrari. So they could actually secure P2 in the Constructors' Championship if they can, do better than the Scuderia. So in this scenario, we're going to have to see if the Haas drivers can pull together. As you see, ALR Deniz is really pulling out all those stops, pushing the car quite a bit in this qualifying. As we can see, Toro Rosso behind him. Now Wheels of Steel has actually jumped into P3 with a good qualifying. Just a little bit faster than Kaiman. He is in P3, so we will see a Haas, a Red Bull, and a Mercedes in P1, 2, and 3 respectively as of now, with 3 minutes left on the clock. But we will see this is where a lot of cars will be trying to get out. The track will be very busy. People will have to be creating space for these qualifying laps, as we do have a yellow flag. There's a yellow flag. I think it's the Sauber. It is the Sauber. He seems to have an issue, so he will slow down in this case. Oh, we see actually ALR this has gone off the track, so his lap in this case will be invalidated. He will have to stay with the 1:28. Let's actually see if Mike is going to wait and then take another lap here. Maybe he'll be able to take P1. Definitely the people in positions 2, 3, 4, and honestly 5 and 6 too, because they're within that 5/10 of a second time frame, will be looking to shave time off of their timings. After ALR Deniz has had that lap invalidated, he will be trying to rush to get to the pits, as we do see the Racing Point once again spinning off the track in qualifying. It is not looking good for the Racing Point, as he has retired from the session, and so has the Renault of Steven. So now we'll see if ALR Deniz can make it back to the pits, but this next lap will also be invalidated. I don't think he will have time to perform another lap, so we will see if Mike can get out there. Oh, Mike has actually posted a 1:28.49, which is not going to be fast enough in this case. Let's see if he can actually continue on and post another lap time. With 2 minutes left, this qualifying has been quite close, as we see P6 and P1, the difference is only 5/10 of a second. And we see actually there is a yellow flag. Well, that's gone as of now. Let's stay on board with Mike, as we can see if he's going to really push the car here. As Kaiman is in front of him, these two will both be looking for electric laps. Both will be pushing very, very hard. Mike will be expecting his teammate, who will not say he's number 2 driver at Red Bull, but we definitely know as Mega Mike passes him here that Mega Mike is definitely been the fastest driver of the two for the season, so Mike will try to qualify in pole here, and Kaiman will also be pushing to hopefully shave those measly 600ths of a second off of his time to get into the podium, which would, arguably secure the title for Red Bull. Red Bull already seems to almost have it in the bag. It's just a matter of, this race being said and done. Although they are about 200 points ahead in the championship, it will be nice for them to, come out of today with a win and a podium as well. All right, we'll see. So with 45 seconds left in qualifying, this is how the grid is shaping out. We have the Haas of ALR Denise is in P1. Next to that is Mega Mike in the Red Bull in P2, and then Wheels of Steel in the Mercedes in P3. Followed by Kajman in the other Red Bull. The two Ferraris sit right next to each other at only 100th of a second in gap. They're P5 and 6. The Sauber of ALR Sklav has actually jumped up into P7 ahead of Asif, so that would be disappointing for the Haas. They will really want to see themselves move up. As we see, Catchcoma has actually retired, the Toro so has retired after posting a 132. So we will see that Asif is in general going to be trying to push up in this because he wants to secure the second place in the Drivers' Championship for his team. In the Construction Championship for his team. As we see, Wheels of Steel has actually jumped into P2 ahead of Mega Mike. We'll see Mike is about to cross the line as there was a yellow flag prior to. And let's see how qualifying, and then Mike is still in second place, and that is something. Mike is not starting in P1 as we see ALR Denise and the Haas really pushing for his team here, as we see the Haas is in P1 and they will be able to contend Ferrari for this Constructors Championship if we can see Asif maybe move up in the points. Including this Japanese Grand Prix qualifying, we have ALR Denise in P1, we have Mega Mike in the Red Bull in P2, we have Wheels of Steel in the Mercedes in P3, followed by Kaiman Okiki and Joe. We'll see how these 6 drivers pair out to be, as this is where the grid is very close between the top 6 and top 7, and then we see a little bit of a gap, and that falls off. Does look a little bit cloudy. It will be humid here in Japan. Cars will also be looking to keep fuel a little bit light, as into turn 7 at 130R corner. You want to keep the racing line, you want to be able to keep the car steady. And this 130R zone in general is easiest to do with a moderate fuel level, so you're able to keep the car grounded and not too light. You look at so the front wing doesn't, the front end doesn't fly up. But this is, we're about to start the session underway here. It looks a little bit cloudy, and we are underway here with this. ALR Denise is still in P1, followed by Mega Mike and Wheels of Steel, not too far behind him. They're warming up the tires in this formation lap, and they will be looking to get the tires nice and warm, these super softs nice and sticky, to be able to take advantage of the grip around these high speed corners. Hopefully we'll able to see Robin get out of that P14 position. Hopefully, with a poor qualifying, was able to move up into the points. Hopefully, above the Torosso, the Racing Point, and the Renault Stefan. He'll be looking to really move up in those standings. Everything seems quite standard. So far everything's been clean. Qualifying was quite clean. Besides, the Racing Point was a couple of yellow flags. The Racing Point did move off the track a couple of times. Those were the main incidents. But besides that, there's a clean qualifying, which we love to see, and hopefully we have a clean race as well, as we see them slowly pull up into this iconic 130R corner. As we see, maintaining the racing line in this scenario is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, you will lose the car at a high speed. If you hit the apex in this corner, you will exit at about 312 k's, which is an absolutely electric top speed. As we see, the cars finally lining up into formation as we are underway here for the final race of the ALR season at Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix, with the American Haas in P1, followed by the Red Bull in P2 of Mega Mike. Red Bull will be big fan favorites here in Japan, as we do see them using the Honda engine for the season after a poor season with the unreliable Renault, wherein, for example, in 2018 Daniel Ricciardo had lost complete power and had to complete the race with engine issues. As we are almost underway here, then we will see the 5 lights go off soon, and we are underway here as everything seems clean so far. Oh, and we see that Asif has jumped up a place, and Okiki has jumped above Kaiman. Kaiman now fighting back with the position. Okiki drops down into P6. We see that Sklav has jumped up into P9. Oh, and Ice Cream Sandwich has taken that position. Rizzo still drops to P4, and Kaiman takes P3. That's great driving from Red Bull, as they will definitely need those points to clinch the Constructors' Championship, as we see that actually ALR Sklav has dropped from P8 to P10, accompanying his teammate Robin, who jumped up from P14 to P11. Kachka and Robin have swapped places here, as we see the two Sawas trying to move up the field. It's a good start from the Racing Point of Tansley. He is now in P9. ALR Denise still controlling the pack, as we see Ice Cream Sandwich has now jumped up into P8. This will be quite interesting to see how he will work his way up the midfield as well. With and there is a yellow flag, unfortunately, and it is the Renault, and the Renault has slowed down. He will now be in last place. Hopefully he's not received any damage there. ALR Denise still in P1 here, as we see Sklav and Robin actually overtake the Racing Point in this case. Oh, there's contact between the Racing Point and the Sauber of Robin. But nothing too fancy. They're just racing, as Robin does cut him off into the 150R turn. Oh, and the Racing Point almost spins out, and the exit of the corner, as I said, coming out at 312 k's. That is fast. You must be careful and stay in the line, otherwise you will lose the car. As we see, ALR Denise does post the fastest lap, of course. Him being in the lead. The Renault is so far behind the field, as he seems to be moving quite slow in general. It might be a damage issue. He might need to box, as he does box in this case. The top 3 seems quite solid right now, as ALR Denise has built a sizable gap between himself. Oh, and we actually see Lab. There's a yellow flag. Sorry, not Lab. Kachka. Kachka has indeed spun out, and he's now back. ALR Sklav has dropped into P12, and Tansy dropped into P11. There is a yellow flag there as well. Driver seems to be slowing down into that corner for reasons we don't know why. As you can see, there is now a clear gap between the top 4, as we see the Ferraris will be trying to close that gap and really stick to the front. Hopefully open. There is another yellow flag down by the Williams of Lab. And we've been clear to race. There are green flags all around now, as the Haas is still in front. Wheels of Steel is now into P3, is overtaking Kaiman as there is some competitive racing between these two going in here. As Wheels of Steel and Mercedes does take P3, Kaiman will be looking to get that back as there are still 24 laps remaining in this race. ALR Denise looks comfortable. Robin has gone for the undercut here and he's pitting. Robin is pitting after starting in P14 and going to P11. We'll see that Robin is now going into the pits. Hopefully he has a good strategy on his hands as he switches, as he stays on the super softs actually. Maybe he's had to pit there, maybe he's received some sort of damage. Let's keep telemetry on in this case so we're able to see how this is working for us. Alright, and we see that we are on board with Robin right now, as he has taken the undercut in this scenario. Let's go back with our leaders. See, ALR is still comfortably sitting in the lead, but Mike is not far behind. Mike will be pushing throughout this race. He will want to get pole in the final race of the season, as he's won, I think, about 9 races this season, if I'm not wrong. Mike has won a good amount of races, to be quite honest. Don't remember the number off the top of my head. I don't have the spreadsheet open, but he'll be looking for a pole 100%, no doubt. He's a great driver, and seeing as the gap between him and ALR Denise slowly coming down in the straight here, as they go into the as they go into this long turn 1 into the S curves. Asif has now overtaken Ice Cream Sandwich in P7. This will be good for the Haas, as he will be looking to get closer and closer to his teammate in P1. Will the Haas be able to actually overtake both Ferraris, and then would quite literally be able to overtake them in the Constructors' Championship if they were to end in P1 and P5 respectively? We will see how this plays out. Wheels of Steel has had a 3-second time penalty. He has a 3-second time penalty, which is not good at all, which honestly helps Kaiman jump up into P3 at the end of this race if Wheels of Steel does not increase the gap between him and the Red Bull. But now we see a yellow flag. But I think there's been no crash of any sort, as we see. Oh, Robin has actually crashed, and Robin has retired the car, so one of the Saubers has retired, and this is not good. This is not good at all for the Sauber F1 team, as we see ALR Denise still comfortably in the lead, as he will look to grow this lead now with cars slowly dropping off, as we see the Renault and the Force India, sorry, not the Force India Racing Point, slowly getting weed out of this race, as the Renault is probably going to get lapped in this scenario, as we have a first lapping of the race. There will be blue flags up ahead, as the Renault will have to get out of the way, as he has a line of cars coming in behind him. Hopefully he's able to perform this safely without any issues. The Ferraris really need to push here. Okiki is getting within 0.4 of a second of Kaiman, as Mega Mike is getting closer and closer to ALR Denise. He will be looking for the move sooner than later. Let's go with Okiki and see how close he is to the Red Bull. This will be crucial for Ferrari to get higher up the standings to secure their second in the Constructors' Championship above Haas. They do not want that Haas to get above P7, and they have 2 cars in front who will try to stop him, and that would be the proper strategy from Ferrari. So Ferrari is infamous for their strategy, so we will see as he almost loses it into the spoon curve, at the end of the spoon curve, coming out at about 140 k's, which is about 180 miles an hour. Renault has not been lapped yet, quite interestingly. as Okiki is losing time. He's now about 3/10 of a second slower than he was at the beginning of this lap compared to Kaiman. Kaiman is slowly growing the lead as Okiki uses the raw pace of the Ferrari, the Scuderia gaining time. Now he's now 3/10 of a second between him and the Aston Martin Red Bull in front. As we see, there is a yellow flag as we see the Racing Point of Tansley will not finish. He had expressed he was on the wrong setup and there was a lot of oversteer in the car, which is hard when coming out of that 130R corner at 300 plus Ks. As we see right now, Okiki still slowly trying to gain on the Red Bull, but the Red Bull is not giving up. Kaiman has defended incredibly well in these first 6 laps. There is a yellow flag out, but hopefully they will resume racing shortly. As the leaders go into the spoon curve, they will come out onto this straight here. We'll try to go incredibly fast into this sharp corner into turn 7. They will try to hit the maximum point of the apex. Into the Casio triangle here. The Casio triangle, which will take them back to the start finish line, as we see that ALR Denise is still comfortably in the lead, not incredibly comfortable, but he is pitting here along with the other 3 leaders. Will Kaiman stay out? This is the question. No, they all pit, all top 6 pit. All of the top 6 have pitted. A very quick pit stop, and they will be looking to hopefully finish the race. On this compound, on the medium compound, they're looking to get heat into their tires. Let's see if anybody has decided to stay on the hard tire. Actually, yes, and Wheels of Steel has gone onto the hard tire, so this is an interesting strategy. So has Asif and Job, which both make sense. Asif has now actually jumped into P6 after he has pitted, so this will see the Ferrari drop into P7, which will, you know, for Haas is a great news, but Okiki's also jumped into P4 ahead of Kaiman in P5. The Red Bull will be looking to do some work here, as we do see a yellow flag that has come out. Hopefully this will not affect the race too much. Hopefully we'll get back to racing speed. Oh, and there is a safety car out. There's a safety car out. So this is big. This is huge. This will be definitely difficult for Wheels of Steel, Asif, and Job to get the heat into their tires that they're going to need to build up the pace after the safety car goes. Hopefully they'll be able to execute this strategy well. Right now we see that only 2 cars, both Williams, are still on the soft tire. I don't believe they've pitted yet. I just will let me double check this before I say anything. Oh no, sorry, they have pitted. I was mistaken. It'd be interesting to see after the safety car ends if there is any more havoc. As much as I love the safety car, I also hate it. It stops racing, although it does keep things in order, and it does, and it's a nice car. Unfortunately, it does slow the race down as you see the front pack getting closer and closer together. This will give Lab and Kachka the opportunity, Ice Cream Sandwich and Kachka the opportunity to catch up with the pack again and hopefully resume into the racing with about 19 laps left to go. With the safety car out here, everyone has pitted at least once. Wheels of Steel is on the hard, going for the long stretch. He will be trying to go for this win in this case. We see Okiki still in P4. The Haas has jumped up into P6 from P8, which is brilliant driving from Asif on Eid today, which is great to see for the young lad himself. What can we say? We've already seen how deadly that 30R corner can be, as the Racing Point that spun out of that corner about twice, honestly, and going into that corner so fast that you must keep the car together. It is very, very hard, especially if you're aiming for that apex. You must make sure that you're braking at the correct point and not braking too late. But yes, no, we'll see. Even Steven is on the hard. He's 44 seconds behind, so that makes sense. He'll want to stay out as long as possible. I wonder what Williams are going here. Staying on the soft tire. Wondering if they're just gonna go for more raw pace. To move up the midfield above Sklav in the Sauber, and maybe even above the Ferrari, which would be terrible for Ferrari, honestly. Just in general, they would have to, get more points than Haas today in order to secure that that second place in the championship, the Constructors' Championship. Let's see if the safety car hasn't said anything about going in. Everyone keeping their tires nice and warm. As much as I'm interested in the top 3 battle, that's been pretty solid with only really P3 changing hands. P1 and 2 have been solid throughout the start. Mike has never been more than a second and a tenth away from ALR Denis keeping. Maybe he was hoping for something like this, hoping for a safety car. Maybe he'll be able to overtake him into that into turn 7, which would be great. For Mike to get the win in the last race of the season and be able to lift the Drivers' Championship with a pole in Suzuka as well. Suzuka is a fun track. Drivers love driving here, and I'm sure Mike is loving it here. But I'm sure he's not loving it being second, as he's so used to always being in first place. Something that Dennis is not. And will he be able to stay composed and in the Haas, which is although we are performing on equal cars, let's run with the assumption that they're not equal drivers based off the performance in the season. So we'll see if Dennis can hold up. This has been a great qualifying from him, a great lap. In qualifying, he posted the fastest lap to begin with, and no one had challenged him. Mike had come close within 4 to 5 tenths of a second, but besides that, it's been all Haas in the black and gold car today. So we'll see if they can continue after the safety car goes in. I'll have to see what race control is saying. But no, yeah, most of the pack is caught up yet, besides P9 creating a little bit of a gap between P8, but they'll come into that in this hairpin here into turn 9. Alright, will the safety car go in after this lap? We'll see. I mean, hopefully everyone's got their tires up to heat, of course, charge their batteries with airs, using the braking in the straights to charge that battery faster. So the safety car will be in this lap. Safety car will still be in this lap, that's what race control has said. As Denny's holds up the pack there, as the safety car will go in and we will resume racing shortly. Dennis, making the smart decision of sort of holding up the pack slightly, as he will be able to accelerate into the start-finish line as we will resume racing. Oh, never mind, sorry. For some reason it said yellow flag sector 123, but that's just the safety car was ending. As we see, and ice cream sandwiches at the pit, actually. I wonder why that is. We'll get to know more about that in the debriefing later. Everything seems quite standard right now. No big changes. Kachka does jump into P10 above Steven. Steven has closed the gap a little bit thanks to that safety car, but he is still quite behind there. As we see, ice cream sandwich has performed well in that sector there. There is actually a yellow flag. Oh, and it's Okiki in the Ferrari. Let's go and see what's happened there. Oh no, and he has dropped down from P4 all the way down to P11. That is That is quite unfortunate. That is not a good day for Ferrari as Asif jumps into P5 ahead of Joe. And this could mean that if Dennis and Asif take P1 and P5, I wonder if that will be enough to take second place in the Constructors' Championship. Okiki will be looking to push ahead of the Renault and the Toro Rosso and the various other midfield cars ahead of the Ferrari. Kaiman has actually received a 3-second time penalty, even though he overtakes Rizzo Steele. They will both be equal. They both had 3-second time penalties, so that is null and void. Kaiman now into P3, which is great for the Red Bulls. They will be able to secure 2 podium finishes the day they win the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship. Hopefully, we see Dennis is able to pull this race through. I'm now currently hoping that Haas are able to make an upset with Ferrari. Although I'm supposed to stay unbiased, I just in this case, it's great to see Dennis race well, which is different. Joe usually performing quite consistently. He's now in P6. The same with Okiki, who's now in P11. Unfortunately, we'll see what the incident there was. I'm not too sure. I was not paying attention. It happened quite fast. So we'll get into that later with Dennis, not with Dennis, sorry, with Okiki, and see what exactly went down in that scenario. As we see the front three, creating a nice gap between the rest of the midfield up until P8 of the Sauber, who all seem to be packing together from Kaiman and to ALR Sklav, as we see Mega Mike, really trying to push here, staying very, very, very close, right behind ALR. Then he's giving him a lot of pressure, putting pressure on him, as Mega Mike knows how it feels to be in this scenario, and so he will, if anything, he knows what Dennis is going through right now, and he will be trying to exploit any weakness he can, the same way that Dennis will be trying to keep him behind, as he's aware that Mike is quick, and he will be aware that any error will be able to cost him this final race of the season, which would be a great win for Haas. It would be great for the team, and hopefully will only further the momentum into next season. Mike is right behind Dennis. This is a close battle for first and second. It'll be interesting to see when race control enables DRS, how that will change things as they come into turn 9 here. The leaders into the hairpin. Clean through the hairpin. Across this straight, they will now go into what's called the spoon curve until the long straight, where they're able to gain up speed before the iconic turn 15, and will they be able to see what they register in the speed trap as well. Mike is conserving his ERS here, whereas Dennis is pushing on high. And Mike does have DRS here. He will have DRS in about 10 meters, and he has DRS. Let's see if he is able to create a gap between these two. Let's be on board with Mike, as he had DRS in that scenario. Maybe he will be a little bit more patient. I don't know if he's looking to make the move now particularly. Seems to be driving quite conservatively, as there is a yellow flag, and we see that the Williams of Ice Cream Sandwich spun out there. Sorry, not the Williams of Ice Cream Sandwich. I apologize. The Williams of Lab there, in this case, had spun out. But no, let's go back to the front two, as we see that could Mike get DRS here again, maybe. It would be interesting to see as he charges up his battery. ALR Sklav has now jumped into P7, P6, and Job has now jumped into P5. Asif dropping down to P7 from P5. Job will be very happy with that racing. That is exactly what we've seen from him all season round. Consistent racing as he jumps back into P5. Okiki jumps up from P11 into P9, slowly gaining only 2/10 of a second behind Ketchka and Asif. Will he be able? Oh, and he gains on Ketchka here. Will he be able to get in front of the Haas, which will honestly end their Constructors Championship, Constructors second place dreams? If he does get above Asif in this scenario. Job back in P5 now. We see a great race from ALR Sklav in the Saabes. He is only a tenth, the 3/10 of a second off from Job in this scenario. Mike is right on Dennis's tail here. Oh, and ALR Sklav and Job fighting for positions here. Let's preview this as ALR Sklav goes wide into the first S-curve here. And we'll see Job is now built a bigger gap, about almost a 1 second gap. And there is a yellow flag. And I do believe that that it is Lab who is actually retired his Williams. Unfortunately, that's quite unfortunate for Labo. Hate to see people not finish races. It's quite unfortunate, but the last race of the season, lots of people are trying to push and hopefully get some points to help them move up before the end of the season. Can make or break someone's championship. Definitely this last race. As we see, that will not be the case for Mike. He will safely walk away with the points in this case, and so will Red Bull. We'll see as Mike is only 3/10 of a second behind Dennis as he's closing this gap quite well. The battle between as Okiki moves up to P8, the battle between P8 to P6 is quite close, and we'll see that if Job can consistently post fastest lap times and get close to Wheels of Steel, then maybe that will secure the second place for Ferrari, honestly. But as of now, with the points tallying up, we'll be close. It'll be quite close. Kazman did actually a good job of holding up Wheels of Steel. Letting Mike and Dennis race. That's a good strategy from the Red Bull team, So there's no one behind Mike, and he's not having any pressure from any other cars. He's able to just focus on one car, Dennis, which is quite helpful for Mike. It's honestly a good strategy, and on the medium tire as well to be able to get some more grip. Asif actually got a 3-second time penalty here now, so he will probably be dropping below Okiki. If he gets any slower, Okiki only 5 seconds behind, he will be trying to push very, very aggressively here as we are over halfway done in this race. Maybe Okiki will probably be saving that for a couple laps down the line. As we see, ALR Sklav get quite close between Job, the Sauber getting quite close to its older brother counterpart in the Ferrari. Oh no, and Mike has actually overtaken Dennis in this scenario. Oh no, and Dennis drops to P2. Mike saving DRS for that overtake into turn 1, and now Mike has secured P1. And I was telling you that he might be waiting for this moment almost halfway over in the race, and I was correct indeed. Mike has overtaken Dennis in this scenario to take P1, and he will hopefully secure the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship for Red Bull Racing. As we see, Job is now building a gap between him and Sklab, which is good, which is definitely good. Okiki needs to close that gap between himself and Asif. Asif with the 3-second time penalty also will only be seeing himself being a second and a half faster than Okiki as Dennis tries to close that gap again, hopefully going for an overtake of some sort again in turn 1, which is arguably the best spot in this track to overtake. With that wide turn going out wide, if you use the whole road and your lights on the brakes can save speed, you can get a good exit rather than hitting the apex of that first corner, because you will continue to turn and turn and turn, as it is quite a long turn, as we see Dennis getting quite close within 0.3 of a second to Mega Mike. Mike will be looking to just close the result out from here. 10 laps, flat out on the medium tires. He's already 10 laps in with the medium tires, so he should be completely fine to go. We'll see if actually Wheels of Steel in this case, we'll see if the hard tire even pays off in this case. 10 laps on the hard tire. Job actually jumping up as well, higher was Sklavasif there. The hard tire pays off for them. I'd be interested to see what pace they're doing, but unfortunately I'm not going to be looking at that, as someone can gain an advantage just looking at the screen. But we'll really be seeing how, if the hard tire in this scenario does beat the medium tire up ahead, Dennis and Cameron could easily fall down the rankings, with a substantial lead. Mike is built. Actually, a substantial lead that Mike is trying to build, not is building. But in this case, the Haas pushes too hard. He might not see his tires out to the end, and in this scenario, we don't want that to happen. As you can see, the gap between first and second is quite large, and the gap between third and fourth is quite large, and the gap from fourth down to fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth is big as well. As he has almost made up about 2 seconds in the last 2 or 3 laps, which is great news for Ferrari. Okiki gets closer and closer to Asif with the time penalty as well, so Okiki will now technically be in P7. We'll try to see if he can overtake Slav and meet his teammate Job. I honestly do think the top 6 are still going to be Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and maybe one Haas, depending on how the hard tire strategy works out for Wheels of Steel. None of the hard tire runners are posting fastest laps, so I'm not incredibly convinced by how well the hard strategy worked out for these people. 11 laps would break in hard tires, yes, but I don't necessarily think that it's what. I still think the medium would probably be the better tire to go on. I don't think an undercut with a hard in the 50% race like this is something that's going to work. But no, as we see Asif, continuing to get slower and slower with that time penalty as well. Job continued to Okiki continued to getting faster and faster every time, a little bit every lap, as we see Dennis is keeping within 0.5 of a second of Mike, who's very, very fast in the Red Bull. Dennis will definitely be pushing here, and he's been racing very well so far, staying very composed. I haven't seen any errors or any sort of a struggle for him, but how we all know how hard it is to drive a Formula 1 car, so he's definitely battling with it in its own right, but he will hopefully he's winning that battle right now, if anything, with the car, but he will be pushing even more to get into P1, as we see that Mercedes of Oliver is now actually 0.9 of a second away from Kaiman in P3. Kaiman will be looking to hold him off and keep that gap between himself and his teammate. If anything, Kaiman now getting within 5 seconds of Dennis will be trying to pushing and hopefully get the 1-2 for the Red Bull, which would be a perfect finish for them to secure the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship in today's race. It'd be interesting to see that actually Stefan is quite far behind on the hard tires with an 18-second gap, and he's 14 laps in, which is more laps than the medium, and he doesn't seem to be doing a great pace. So it's like I genuinely think that's an example of why the hard tires in this circuit on this stage of the circuit will not work. I genuinely don't see Wheels of Steel overtaking Kaiman at all. In this case, as he was 0.9 of a second in between, but the hard tires, the temperature drop off is just so high. To get grip back, you have to really floor it on the straight. And when you're behind a car like that, you can't really take. You don't have a lot of space to utilize up ahead. You can't floor the car. So Yeah, we're looking for Okiki to really push here in the last couple laps. He only has about 8 laps remaining, and he's a second and 3/10 behind. Asif, who honestly was held up quite well. He was in P5 at one point, but after getting that 3-second time penalty and then dropping down to P7, it's been looking a little bleak for the Haas. Dennis also dropping into P2, but he is now on the tail of Mega Mike as they do go into the start finish, as they get onto the straight, about to go in to this long turn 1 as Dennis takes the outside, and they go neck and neck here, and Dennis on the outside, Mike on the inside again, and they're battling, and Mike actually gets the better exit out of the corner. So I think Dennis was a little precautious there and tried to save the car in that scenario. That was good racing from Dennis, also to take the outside, very aggressive, the Haas against the Red Bull as he stays on his tail, and we will be watching this battle very closely between the American and the Austrian car. Of course, we know who the Japanese are rooting for in this scenario, with the Honda engine in one car and the Ferrari engine in the other. Oh, and Dennis has been spun out, and he's spun out coming in contact with Mike on the exit of the hairpin there, as we see Kaiman will now jump into P2, and that is a nightmare for the Haas after starting on pole. And I don't think there was anything strange about that. I don't think there was any contact. I think that maybe he braked in the wrong spot, so it looked a little bit funky to me. I think that the front end of Dennis spun out a little bit and hitting the back of oh, Asif is another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that's just it's not looking good for Haas at all. The breaking down within his last couple laps, and this is what separates the midfield teams from the good teams. Anyone can have a good start. It's just about consistency and delivering a long performance in the race, and we see that the most seasoned, experienced drivers in this scenario performing as Kaiman, and Dennis actually overtakes Kaiman on the straight here into turn 1, and just actually great racing from Dennis as he's able to get back into P2. After a spin like that, you wouldn't expect something like that from the Haas, but that is great, electric racing. And as you see, Okiki has gone above Asif in this case, so Ferrari will be pushing in these last 6 laps to get some more points and secure more points than P2 in this scenario combined, so they'll be able to secure that constructors championship. Right now on the podium would be Red Bull, Haas, and Red Bull, and it would be Red Bull today, as we would see them take the drivers and the constructors' titles. As Mega Mike does have a 3-second time penalty, he has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. We will see Dennis will try his hardest to push here, as Mike has created about a 5-second gap after that spin, but he will be pushing as Kaiman comes down the straight here. Does he have DRS? No, he does not, but he goes wide, and he does overtake Dennis on the turn there into the Casio chicane out of turn 16 and 17, as we do see them go into the long straight here of the start-finish line, and we see Dennis overtake here. He does have DRS, he takes a slipstream, and he goes into brakes a little bit earlier, as they do make contact, and oh no, Kaiman has spun out, but he's managed. Has he managed to save it? Yes, he's managed to save the car's Wheels of Steel now jumps into P3. That's some aggressive racing down turn 1. Turn 1 is always crazy in Suzuka. Drivers braking and switching to the throttle so fast to be able to maintain speed throughout that corner. Oh my goodness, this has been quite the end to this race. Quite the last half of this race has been quite electric. The first half of the stage was just, I guess, the drivers setting the stage for some real racing. In this 50% race, now we have 5 laps left to go, and Mike is still in P1, followed by Dennis and Wheels of Steel in P2 and 3 respectively. Kaiman had spun out into turn 1 after coming into contact with ALR Denise. Hopefully race control will be looking into that scenario. I don't know if he had given him a space or not on the turn. I saw him his back end lose the rear end, so We'll really see, honestly, how that works out. Job into P5. Sklav is still holding into P6. It's a great race from Sklav, holding the Ferrari back. Scoring points for Saba, which is what every team was aiming to do in this scenario. Wheels of Steel. Kaiman has actually received a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, so Job will be pushing here. Technically now he is only about 2 seconds behind. He'll be pushing here to get into P4 and secure more points for Ferrari, so they can secure that second place in the Constructors. As we see, the Mercedes of Wheels of Steel is very, very close to ALR Denise. Let's see if the hard tire here pays off. He's only about 0.3 of a second away, as he does have more grip into the S-curves than Dennis. We'll really see how he moves on the straight into turn 10 here. And then into that hairpin. Who can keep it clean, can maximize their speed through these corners. We are approaching the last 4 laps of the race. Okay, there's nothing big happening right now. We see that all the drivers are really maintaining their pace. Dennis needs to pick up the pace as he is quite off the leader. The Mercedes has been faster than him the last couple of laps, and it's been a bit tough for him. Wheels of Steel has closed this gap 0.2 of a second. He tries to take the inside of Dennis into into turn 7 here after the exit of the S curve, and we'll see into sector 2 if he can really make up some speed here. Dennis is struggling to keep both the Red Bull and the Mercedes in front of him. He really needs only 3 laps to go. He will have to keep, the car together to get the points for Haas as he almost spins out. Oh, and Wheels of Steel has spun out. There is a yellow flag. Kaiman has overtaken him. Was there contact? That will be the question. Was there any contact? I was not able to see in its entirety, but Kaiman is now into P3. But do remember, he does have a 3-second time penalty, so Dennis should comfortably be able to keep this lead unless Kaiman is going to overtake him and then gain by another 3 seconds, which I doubt would happen. But he is right on his tail as he takes the slipstream and gets right next to him, and he actually overtakes him. He actually overtakes him into that turn, but then Haas gets him back, and the Red Bull has now increased the gap a little bit more. Mega Mike is still comfortably in first place, now built a huge lead already into the start of turn 1, as the other drivers still coming into the start-finish line except for P2 and P3. Dennis pushing very hard here, only 2 laps to go. Hopefully he'll be able to bring the car over the line safely, into the S-curves here as they go. Let's go on board with Kaiman. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I wonder if Wheels of Steel spun out in that scenario because of the lack of grip his tires were providing, due to there's being hard tires. I know there's 18 laps on the tires to begin with, but maybe he lost some grip into that turn right before the start finish line, the casino chicane. Maybe that's what the reason, but we'll figure out in the debrief. Unfortunately for Wheels of Steel, he lost that position. It would have been nice to get the pole follow. Now he has a broken finger, and and whatnot. It would be great to get on pole in this case, but you know, sometimes with the injury and with the issue of the car, you can't do much. You know, and we'll see. Carmen does have DRS here. Will be able to close the gap between Dennis and maybe even take it on the last lap if he's able to overtake into into turn 1 here. There's a long turn. You see he does take try to take the inside of Dennis, but Dennis is defender. We'll see again if he's able to close this gap here now. But you know, it's been a good race. I've only been commentating for Monaco, Hungary in this race, but the quality of racing has been absolutely superb in the last 3 races, and you know, that's been displayed on quality from Megamike. You know, and then in this scenario, starting in P2, knowing he's not on pole, knowing that Dennis has had a good race and a good lap, and the confidence is up, is stuck with him the whole time, and sticking with him has worked out. Will still does now have a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He will have to close the gap between him and Kaiman to not drop into P5 as Job is now will be comfortably into P4 as he's only 6/10 of a second behind Wheels of Steel. Kaiman has closed that gap to 3/10 on the second last lap of the race as he goes a little bit wide into the end of the spoon curve there. As we see Kaiman coming right next to Dennis, almost coming in contact with him and losing the car, but he's able to stay behind Dennis, able to defend quite well. That was a little bit dangerous, but you know, the race officials have not said anything. And with Kaiman having DRS here, we'll see if he's able to close this gap on the last lap and build a 3-second lead as he gets right next to Dennis, and he overtakes him on the outside, and Dennis hits him on the behind. Oh my goodness, and Dennis has spun out. There is a yellow flag and he's not able to keep it together on the last lap. Will he lose P3? I know Wheels of Steel does have a 3-second time penalty, so that is unlikely in the last lap. Hopefully Dennis is able to keep the car together. There's not too much damage, but Kaiman is now into P2 and the Red Bull will finish in the 1-2 spot to secure the Constructors' Championship for this season and the Drivers' Championship for Mega Mike. That's great racing from Kaiman, although you know, Dennis, just a lack of composure in that scenario. Really, he did not need to, you know, take the rear of the Red Bull in that scenario. Kaiman was aggressive, definitely cutting into the outside after the overtake, but you know, I don't see any issues there. You know, especially if someone hits you in the rear. You know, unless you're brake checking them, I don't think that deserves a penalty of any sort. So Dennis will be kicking himself for that one, as the lead, you know, continues to build for Kaiman as he's now 8 seconds ahead of Dennis after that terrible spin into turn 1. We all know how brutal turn 1 Suzuka can be if you're not composed and you're not balancing yourself with the brake and the throttle, and you know, it's difficult. Also, Kaiman now has a 5-second time penalty for an unserved penalty. And ALR Dennis also has a 5-second penalty, which means that Job jumps into P2. Oh my goodness, Kaiman drops down into P5, which means that Job suddenly jumps from P5 to P2. I maybe had not calculated all the penalties there, but that is quite the result for Ferrari. Job finessing it as you know, usual. Fucking hell, the Ferrari is. Wow. Well, Ferrari will take second in the Constructors' Championship as well now, confirmed, and that is great news for Ferrari. You know, finishing in P2 and P6 above the Haas in P3 and P8 when they had started in P1 and Aston made was all the way up to P5. You know, wow, this was great racing here, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, wow, Suzuka, exciting as always. Electric racing, you know, we've seen the pole position changed hands once, but then P2, I believe, changed hands at least 3 or 4 times in this race. Yeah, you know, thank you for watching Suzuka, and you know, we'll love to see the presentation here for the Drivers' Championship and for the race here, as you see Adrian Newey walk out with Mega Mike as he's able to take his last pole of the season. And with this, he will also be able to secure
the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship as we see them spray champagne on each other. The Ferrari of Job will be incredibly pleased to jump up from P5 to P2 after crossing the finish line in P5. Wow, what a season! What a season! And in this scenario, we see Mega Mike on top. Job started in P6 all the way to P2. Dennis dropped down from P1 to P3. Wheels of Steel started in P3, ended in P4 with penalties and spinning out in one scenario. Kaiman started in P4, now ended in P5 with penalties and was almost in P2 there, but with some aggressive driving on Dennis. Okiki was able to stay composed and bring the car home in P6 as they bring the points home for Ferrari. Sklev with a great race, finished in P7 where he started. Asif finished in P8 where he started. Stefan bringing it up the Renault to P9 in the points from out of the points P11. An ice cream sandwich in his last one in the points in P10. Should we go into the debrief now? I think we're gonna go into the debrief. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the stream if that works. Just double checking Discord. Guys, let me know if you want me to end the stream or if you want me to keep it on. Alright, I'm gonna keep the debrief on. Hello? Hello? How we doing, boys? That was a fucking great race.
Really good.
I think that P2 changed hands like what, like 3 times? Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That was a that was a that was yeah, no, as soon as I saw that Kajman got a 5 second penalty, and then after that, so did Dennis. So did Dennis. I was confused. It's wait, but on the race control said that you got a 5 second penalty for an unserved penalty. What does that mean? Yeah, yeah, it's all on the stream, so you should be able to see that. Yeah. No, yeah, because I'm pretty sure Dennis got the same penalty as well, even though it was probably for minor corner cutting, and on I'm pretty sure in the stream itself it said an unserved 5 second penalty for an unserved penalty. So I'm confused as to why. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. Definitely. I was watching that pretty closely. I think with the chicane, I think maybe you'd spent like an extra second or 2 seconds on like touching the curb, and then it gave you a penalty. I don't think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think will that yeah that will that change the because I don't know if that'll affect where Job ends up based off of because I think Dennis got the same penalty. Oh no, yeah. Oh no, those are set. I'm talking about for the just the race in general, not the
Was it
championship.
possible that you sped in the pit lane? Because if you speed in the pit lane, it can give you a 5 seconds to go, and if you don't serve that, it will eventually count as just a normal penalty.
But it'll notify you if you're speeding in the pit lane. Like that you'll get an alert.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, ah, well, my race ended quite depressingly, but I have to blame it on somebody. Oh, he's not even in the call, damn it. Is Johnny here? Damn, I wanted to pretend to blame it all on him, but yeah, we should have just kept on going with it. No, I just literally did a turn in properly, and I just hit the grass and absolutely flew into a barrier. But
That's what the AstroTurf will do in Japan.
no, no,
Yeah. Everyone was pretty like there was it was pretty clean, and then things got really crazy after lap 15, lap 16. That's when things started like I don't know, like really turning up. But did no one? I'm surprised that like there was no penalties or anything for when I like Dennis had tapped Cabin in the back. I think it was like right in the middle of that long turn one. I was surprised, but I don't know. Maybe this is just me. Um, I think it was he didn't need to cross over like that. But I mean, I don't think that's like anything like that matters or affects the race. Yeah, yeah, I did know. I did see that. That was yeah, I did see that. Yeah, he tried to make a gap, but then like right when so you had already like I'm in turn one. I'm pretty sure you had like you'd overtaken him almost. You were side by side. And you were about to overtake him, and then you had the outside. You were about to go into the outside, and then he like sort of almost tried to take the outside, but then like hit you in the back. So like that's like I don't know. No, that wasn't Mike. That was Cashman. Sorry, I might be getting both of you mixed up. Yeah, that's where he spun out. But I'm pretty sure what Mike's talking about in the hairpin that was like that was fine. I didn't see any issues with that. I think I thought that he might have like should have received a penalty for like what on turn one. Yeah. No, but yeah, but sometimes with this game, if you get hit in the back, you get a penalty, and it's absolute AIDS. So you never know. Yeah. No, yeah. So that was a good race, guys. The stream's up. You guys, hopefully someone will make ice cream sandwich and make a highlight video or some sort. But it was a good race.
I guess I'll start the. Do you want to do debriefing again? Last one.
Yeah.
All right. My race, I qualifying, shocking. My race, shocking. Nothing went right. The safety car came out in the race. I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. I put on the softs. Could not get past John for my life. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one time where I sent it up the inside, I don't know if like I should be that hard. Didn't look that bad on my screen, but I know like we, a little rough, a little tired, but. And then the
Yeah.
same Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Fine. Yeah. Most likely. Unless drastic things change, I will probably be. Right. Ice cream sandwich.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to call it quits next season. I don't know. You
Oh,
know,
there
I
it
don't
is.
know. You know, I had to. Middle race actually, lap 3. So just skipping qualifying entirely. I mean, when I saw the competitive times that Robin was putting up, I got a little scared to death.
I love that. Dude, this is
Yeah, qualifying was like I don't even know. I don't know how you guys did that time like that. I just couldn't tell you. Yeah, no, on lap 3 or like lap 4, my sticker comes on and says like screaming. Well,
that was so funny.
I get like 4 FaceTime calls. Right downstairs, like crying that she has a centipede in her room. And I was like, listen, I can't pause this game. Like, you're gonna have to wait till the end. And she's like, what do you want me to do? And I'm just like, I don't know. Just don't go in her room. So after we were done, so like 5 minutes ago, I go upstairs to kill the centipede in her room because she's crying. Still crying about it. So I go to her. I'm like, where's the centipede? She's like, it's on the roof. I go into her room and look at the roof. It is a fucking spider. It is a small spider. And I just looked at her and I was like, you're kidding, right? And she's like, it's a centipede. It's massive. And I was like, man. So then, yeah, I fucking killed her. And I am, yeah, here now. Race was just really just awesome. I got a drive-through penalty during the safety car because I listened to my strategy that Chris was sending me, and then I looked up and it just said drive-through penalty. It's like, oh, yeah, I guess that's for speeding. Actually, no, my bad. The first one, I was 8/10 green, and then it went green, and it just gave me like a speeding penalty, and I was like, I wasn't speeding though, so that was cool. And then under the safety car, then I was fiddling with my setup or strategy, and then I was just speeding. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then the race was ruined, and then Tacoma, I was catching up to him like 5 seconds a lap, like I was flying compared to him. And then I caught him in the S's, murdered him. Like I just killed him. Like I just just murdered him. Like I think it was all entirely my fault. Like I was side by side with him in the S's, and like I just murdered him. Like I don't even know. Same with Aston. I think Aston, he was behind me by like 130R, and I think I just swiped across the front of him completely. But I don't think I hit him. I don't even know.
No, I don't think you hit Asif there because he was still. I think he was still fine.
Yeah. I just knew that I fucking. Yeah, whatever. Okay, that was pretty much it though. For the race.
beautiful.
Last race. And yeah. Next week is in France?
Oh, next week. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, next week's France. No, it was a joke that there's like one more race left. But didn't really, yeah.